evening and welcome to ASL 4 News at 6 o'clock. My name is Carissa Hamilton. Recently, many people have wondered, is American Sign Language the only source of communication that the deaf community can use? Well, after many months of research, we have discovered that the community uses 5 other methods to communicate. These methods include American Sign Language, as previously mentioned, signing exact English, cued speech, bilingual bicultural, or also known as bye-bye, and total communication. These languages help the deaf community express their voices in other ways that can make it easier to translate into English and easier for those that speak English to understand the deaf language and the deaf culture. Let's tune in to Brittany Black to see what she has to say about American Sign Language. Brittany?
Hi, I'm here with ASL 4 News to talk about ASL, or American Sign Language. American Sign Language started in the early 19th century when Thomas Gallaudet traveled to France to learn about their sign language, and he brought back much of what he had learned to America, along with a French friend, Laurent Clerc. The two of them started the first deaf school in America, and from there, American Sign Language spread. Now, American Sign Language is not to be confused with English. The structures are completely different. In English, one would say, "What time is it?" In ASL, one might say, sign language has a long history, and many people have fought to make it its own language, which it is recognized as today. But many people have also fought to eradicate it completely. Still, ASL sticks around and is used as a mode of communication for deaf and hearing alike.
Thank you, Brittany. That information was very insightful. It's amazing how long American Sign Language has stayed despite the conflicts and controversy it has gone through over the years. American Sign Language is what the deaf people use as a voice, and it is so amazing that they have a voice that they can speak. We need to be respectful to American Sign Language and understand its proper uses. Well, let's see what Rachel Pierce has to say about signing exact English. Let's tune in to her. Rachel?
This language represents the literal translation of English, but in a visual sense. Signing exact English is used so that children can see an accurate representation of English. It is used to teach them to read English, but it isn't recommended for the sole language of the child. The language was first used in 1972. Signing exact English does not exclude ASL, but rather about 75% of signing exact English uses signs that are common in any sign language in the United States. In ASL, one sign can represent many things, such as finish. It can mean complete, done, over, or end, while in signing exact English, each word would have a different sign. A child that knows signing exact English can easily adapt to the syntax of ASL. Signing exact English also adds the ing onto words, whereas ASL does not. While signing exact English is a good tool to teach young deaf and hard of hearing children to read English, it is controversial in the deaf community. Deaf people who grew up signing with ASL say that signing exact English is awkward and hard to use.
Thank you, Rachel. The ability to translate English into a sign language is one that is very difficult. But with signing exact English, that is exactly what happens. Even though it is not pure American Sign Language, this language can portray the English words with the American Sign Language and create a new language. Well, Elise Durant has information about cued speech. Let's see what she has discovered. Elise?
Dr. Cornett was the inventor of cued speech, and what it is he says it's a language that visually conveys the English language, pretty much. So what it consists of is 8 hand shapes that are positioned around the mouth, and what it does is it helps you to correspond these hand shapes with the vowels that you speak. So, like, you can do different hand shapes like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Those are the 8 hand shapes, basically. You can say things like, hello, my name is Elise. Usually how people do it is they talk while they sign, because it helps them to read lips. That's pretty much the basis of the language. Like, they use hand shapes to help with the lip reading, pretty much. Anyway, this can be used by hard of hearing people, deaf people, or even hearing people. It is used as a better way for people to communicate with one another. It is also spread wide through literature. People use this to help deaf people or hard of hearing people learn how to read. It's a very useful thing, and hardly any people have heard about it. So you parents out there that need something easy to learn to communicate with your kids better, or your deaf aunt or your deaf uncle or your deaf grandma, Cute Speech is a good way to better communicate with those that you love in your life. So yeah, that is my report on Cute Speech. Back to you, Carissa.
Thank you, Elise. Our time is running short, but we still have 2 more presentations about the modes of communication. Let's turn into Jordan Sweden, who has information about bilingual bicultural.
Hi, I'm Jordan Svedin, and I'm here to talk to you today about bilingual bicultural education, or BiBi. The word bilingual means being able to speak 2 languages, and the word bicultural means being a part of 2 cultures or communities. Bilingual bicultural education of deaf and hard of hearing children allows children to use American Sign Language, or ASL, as their first language and English as their second. Deaf culture also is discussed for children to learn more about themselves and other deaf people. This program promotes children to identify with deaf culture that has a common language instead of identifying themselves as deficient of hearing and spoken English. ASL Primary is used for instructional purposes. This creates a language environment that is more consistent and complete for the children to take on as their own way of understanding and being understood. There are different interpretations of bilingual bicultural deaf education, but the most common interpretation is the development of ASL as the primary language and English as the second language, particularly the reading and writing components. Both ASL and English are considered equal languages of importance. Therefore, there are ASL specialists who provide ASL therapy services, much like therapists provide speech therapy services. So the importance of bilingual education for deaf children is so that way they can be a part of both the hearing and the deaf community. So that way they can speak and sign and take part of both cultures.
Thank you, Jordan. That information was very helpful. I had the opportunity to research total communication. Well, total communication, according to Gallaudet University, is a philosophy that helps children use a wider range of communications. These communications include skills of sign language, listening to what is being heard, using gestures and body images, understanding others through lip reading, and cued speech. So basically this source of communication is just a mixture of all the previous communications that have been discussed. It was evolved in 1967 by Roy Holcomb. Although this language is not currently used by those that are deaf, it's mostly used by those using hearing aids or cochlear implants. This also allows the flexibility without eliminating any options to the children. The children are able to change the language they want to use depending upon the situation that they're in. So the only limitation is that it usually isn't used properly because they combine all the different sources of communication instead of keeping one. But this one provides them the most opportunity to have the ability to communicate with others around them and to evolve into other people's culture. Many of you might be wondering, why do I need to learn about these modes of communication? What impact do they have on my life? Well, I'd just like to say, by learning these modes of communication, we can now better understand the deaf culture, and we can now better understand other people's perspective. The more we learn about various languages, the more perspective and the more depth is added to our lives. So, by learning about these modes of communication, we can now better communicate with others, but we can better understand themselves and their beliefs. When you learn about a language, you need to learn about a culture, and that is what language does. Language expresses a culture. So, what can we do with this presentation? Well, we can take it and we can now learn to communicate with others, and we can try to help see others through their perspective. And just like how there's 5 different modes of communication, we can now think of different ways to communicate with others, because not every single person communicates the same way in the hearing world. And that's just the same as in the deaf. So we need to remember, communication is the key. People's culture. Thank you for joining us tonight on ASL 4 News. We hope that if you ever have to make a decision about what communication you have to use, that you will be able to easily make that decision. These communications impact us every day. The way that we communicate with others is very crucial in each different culture. We need to respect the deaf culture, but we also need to respect each one of these different communications, no matter what the person chooses. Well, this is us signing up. We'll see you tomorrow night.